Hello and welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you with us today for the third and final session in the Bentley Systems webinar series on smart cities and water. I'm Cristina Novo, Technical Editor at Smart Water Magazine. This session is titled The Urban Blueprint: Why Water Must Lead the Smart City Conversation. As cities accelerate their digital transformation journeys, water is no longer just one service among many. It is becoming the foundation of resilience, innovation, and sustainable growth. The pressures of climate change, urbanization, and regulatory demands mean that how we manage water is shaping the future of cities themselves. Today, we're going to explore how digital solutions are helping communities rethink water's role in the urban fabric. We'll hear about innovations in flood and stormwater management that are redefining resilience, how digital twins can unify water systems to enable stronger collaboration across sectors, and how climate adaptation strategies and citywide sustainability goals are guiding the mission and priorities of utilities. Our discussion is going to explore current developments, emerging practices, and perspectives on what it can mean to design a water-resilient city in the digital age. Before we get started, just a couple of quick practical notes. For those joining us from different parts of the world, translation is available through the subtitles function in Zoom, which you can activate directly from your Zoom window. And we encourage you to submit questions at any point during the webinar, and our speakers will address them at the end during a dedicated Q&A session. To send your questions, please use the Q&A module at the bottom of your Zoom window, and please indicate your name and your organization. And to help us navigate today's topic, we're joined by three expert voices who bring us unique perspectives. Let me introduce our panelists. Cecilia Correia is Global Water Industry Solutions Strategist at Bentley Systems. She brings 2 decades of experience in the water sector, having worked with river basin organizations, consulting engineers, utilities, and digital solution providers. At Bentley, she leads the global strategy for water, with a strong focus on digital innovation, strategic collaboration, and supporting utilities in building climate-resilient infrastructure adapted to today's challenges. Welcome, Cecilia. Also with us is Siya Bashe, Director of Commercial Services at the City of Cape Town, where she has spent nearly 15 years advancing municipal service delivery. She also serves as a council member at SWAN, the Smart Water Networks Forum, bringing expertise in revenue management, urban resilience, and digital water innovation. Welcome, and thanks for joining us today, Siya.
Thank you.
And we're joined as well by Cristina García, Product Lead for Enterprise Decision Analytics at Arcadis, where she drives strategy and innovation for the company's flagship software-as-a-service platform. With over 15 years of experience in digital transformation and strategic asset management through data and analytics, she helps clients optimize investments, improve performance, and balance environmental sustainability with societal needs. Welcome, Cristina. So thank you all three for being here today. Let's begin our discussion. Smart cities often prioritize energy, mobility, and data. But many in the water sector believe that water is foundational. Do you think this is correct? And why do you think that we need to shift the narrative to place water at the center? I would like to turn first to Siya from a city perspective. Should water be in the center of urban planning and design?
Thank you very much, Cristina, and thank you for that question. I mean, talking from the Cape Town perspective, and my answer is absolutely a yes. That is on the basis that everybody knows that Cape Town survived day zero Therefore, we all know that any drought crisis has a capability to make the city stumble. And for us, we managed to really survive day zero and help the city not to come to a stop. But we stumbled a little. So based on that, I can say without any doubt that definitely water should be in the central point of city planning. And I do want to highlight a few things about what the city did on surviving day zero. We came up with a water strategy, which really, we called it the water strategy, our shared water future. And we focused on our shared water future because we understood then that the water will be on the central core of the of surviving and planning for the future. But at the same time, it's quite vital in the sustainability of the city. And we had key commitments. I will touch briefly on those commitments that we had in our strategy. We had around access to safe water for all. And when we say all, we mean all our users of services within our city. And then also we said we will drive wise use through pricing, regulation, active citizenship, and network management. We will look and optimize diverse supply or improve sources of water, because when we experienced the drought, the only source of water that we had was surface water. The city is still in the drive, in a journey to improve and diversifying our supply. And we currently have a new water program that focuses on delivering on groundwater desalination and reuse. And then we also said there's an importance in a regional partnership and collaboration. And we're working on that, in ensuring that we share benefits and manage risk within our regional water resources. And our last commitment is an ambitious target of becoming a water-sensitive city by 2040. So with that, I do feel that there is a role and the importance in putting water in the central part of the city. But just a couple of things that I just want to highlight around that is that we need to be intentional as cities and from our side as the City of Cape Town to ensure that we break out silos when we respond and put water in the center of city development and city planning. And we need to align and link the systems with energy planning and other services. As a city, as part of our Vision 2050, we've included that it's key that our development doesn't outpace our water security. In that way, we safeguard on how we ensure we build sustainable cities. So there is a critical importance in ensuring that we put water in the center of city planning. My background, is you already indicated when you were introducing me, that I drive the finance, the commercial side within the water and sanitation in Cape Town. I think it will also be important that to indicate that when we put water in the center of our planning, we don't only focus on the technical side. We also put emphasis in ensuring that there is financial sustainability, there is affordability. We put tariffs that are going to make our system resilient, and therefore we need to explore and look at different funding options and also look at different tariff structures in order to ensure that we build a resilient service and a resilient city. Thanks, Cristina.
Thank you, Siya, for sharing those details about Cape Town's experience and how you managed to ever get into that day zero. And those important points that for resilience, we don't only need the technical aspects, but also financial resilience and affordability to make sure that our water strategy is sustainable and part of the citywide sustainability effort. I would like to turn to Cristina Your role is to support urban innovation ecosystems to help reframe water as a driver of sustainability and resilience. What's your evaluation on this aspect? I think you don't have your microphone on. Is that possible?
Hello.
Okay,
can you
now
hear
we
me?
hear you. Yes.
Yes. So here at Arcadis, we do a lot of work with many cities, governments, local councils globally. And what we find is often the conversation starts with energy, it's about mobility, it's about data. And of course, those conversations, they're important. Because as a city, a smart city, you won't be able to function without those systems. But often water is an afterthought, and it's not kind of prominent in that planning. Whereas actually what we see is that water is the foundation. It underpins everything. It underpins health, it underpins housing, and even in some situations, energy production. So it's important because when we feel the effects of climate change, often the most visible and immediate effect is through things like droughts, like floods, water quality issues. I think Celia has kind of spoken to that and the effect of Cape Town. And these are kind of real tangible events and signals of climate stress and the things that communities notice first. So that another reason why to put water at your forefront of planning. And if we don't kind of if we don't do this, then we risk building amazing cities that look modern and in the surface, but are kind of fragile when it comes to resilience. So I think what we need is a bit of a reframing. We need to kind of change the narrative from looking at water as just the utility, but actually as a strategic asset that can actually drive sustainability and resilience. For example, we've done some work with some cities whereby when we've managed to kind of to get a shared data set and get collaboration between the utilities and the city departments, we can not only kind of manage kind of things like storm water more effectively, but we can also kind of show how those improvements really impact investments, how they enable kind of city growth, be that kind of in housing or be that in the communities, but then also how we can protect things like the public health and even kind of reduce energy usage. So by making connections visible, suddenly we shift from water being a constraint to being an enabler. We've done some work recently in the US with a lead pipe replacement program, where we looked at kind of where's a societal benefit for replacing some lead pipes, and looked at the prioritization of that program, looking at kind of to rebalance the scales so that kind of maybe kind of more deprived communities kind of feel that impact first. And what we see is that the benefit is magnified. We see kind of the importance of that kind of cross-sector kind of collaboration. We're able to talk and quantify benefits, and that in turn then leads to being able to break down some silos and people to start to see the importance of water. Thanks, Thank you.
Thank you, Cristina, for sharing your experience and how to put that water to the forefront instead of being an afterthought, and what are the benefits that can bring to the city. I would like to hear from Cecilia now, from a technology standpoint. How can digital tools help elevate water's role in smart city planning and design?
I think the first thing, if we want to make cities generally want to elevate the water topic, we need to shift from the narrative of water as a hidden utility, because sometimes people say, "Oh, no one sees water; it's buried," right? To a strategic, and if we don't use the data-driven aspect of things, it's harder to actually exemplify what is the effect of or the impact of water. So technology will play a very, I would say, transformative role in making this water system visible, because if we can measure and take action on top of this, we will help the organizations around understand the value. So using tools like digital twins, IoT sensors, but also AI analytics that we all hear today, cities can also monitor, for example, water flows, detect leaks, simulate future scenarios such as droughts and floods, like Siya just explained in terms of the water strategy that they have implemented after having some difficulties with water. So this visibility will really empower the decision makers to act proactively. It's exactly what we heard. When we miss water, then we recognize the value, and so we take a more proactive action in terms of the way that we look into water. Instead of being very reactive, we're more proactively turning this water domain into a very strategic planning instead of crisis management, which is what we heard in the beginning. I'm glad Siya started because it really shows a real example of when you need to put water in front of your decisions. And so beside this aspect, water should be framed as a key enabler, as we also heard, in terms of the wider smart city goals. So if we think not only in terms of crisis, but how can I actually achieve my smart cities goals? It's all about efficient water management that will contribute directly for sustainability, climate adaptation, but also the economic resilience that Siya was also mentioning, and also Cristina. So smart water systems will help reduce energy consumption. It will support circular economy models through, for example, reuse, recycling. We have seen cases of cities that they had a flood issue and they ended up, well, we actually have water, so maybe we can actually use this water instead of using from the water supply system. We can actually use, we can recycle, and we can protect our communities from climate-related risks related to that. So you see that the narrative changes from a problem to a resource that can be used. And I think by aligning the water with these high priority urban agendas, technology will help elevate the importance in terms of city planning and the policy that the entities will need to put up to manage this water. So it will also help, I would say, storytelling. If you have powerful visualization tools for engagement, I mean, you can use interactive dashboards, scenario modeling, but also citizen-facing apps so that they can actually see what is happening. And so this helps communicate the value of water in different ways, compelling ways, because these tools really make water data more accessible and engaging, helping both policymakers, but also the public understand. This is very important in terms of the risks and the opportunities that this creates, because if we need to go under construction, if we need to ask people to contribute with taxes, they will understand that there is a reason for that. And so, and another aspect that I would say that Siya also mentioned briefly is related to cities embracing smart water technology in terms of the return of investment. So if we use predictive maintenance, smart metering, AI-driven optimization, it will reduce operational costs. It's everywhere. Cristina also mentions this. They work together with organizations around the world to really improve this. And this also improves the service reliability in terms of increasing, for example, the confidence that we have in the systems, because we can look into data and understand what is happening, and also, of course, increase the revenue, because the economic part is very, very important. So I think by showcasing how water can be a driver in terms of technological advancements, cities are more likely to prioritize it, not just because they have to, but because they want to, I would say.
Thank you, Cecilia, for that clear picture of that huge role of technology, that transformative role to bring water to the center, to bring visibility, engagement, and operational resilience, operational efficiency, so that cities will see how to get a return on investment from putting water at the center. So with that in mind, we're going to look at resilience an increasingly vital topic in the context of cities, but a little bit more specifically at stormwater management, not just a risk that needs to be mitigated, but as an opportunity that can be harnessed. So I would like to turn to Cristina, and in your view, how can nature-based solutions like blue and green infrastructure work alongside digital technologies to create more resilient and sustainable urban environments?
Okay, I think they go hand in hand. So the real strength is when we kind of combine the nature-based solutions and digital technologies together. Together they create resilience, both that's physical, ecological, and also data-driven. We've done kind of some work in regeneration of wetlands, recommendation of kind of green roofs and things around kind of permeable pavements. All of these aspects and these nature-based solutions, and they all help to slow and to absorb stormwater naturally. But if you then add the digital modeling kind of capabilities, things like digital twins or any form of asset modeling or investment planning, you can then also look at the impact of what would happen with a nature-based solution and extreme weather events. And we can also then measure, using digital tools, the impact, and we can start to evidence the return on investment. Often we kind of hear from the market that there's skepticism about kind of nature-based products around, well, this is untested, and why should we kind of go against kind of something that more man-made kind of solutions. So by being able to kind of to evidence the return on investment and the impact of extreme measures or extreme weather, we can kind of build that confidence. It helps kind of make design decisions more robust, and it helps kind of cities justify why a particular approach is the right one. Another benefit is that nature-based solutions, they don't only just offer flood protections, but they also act to kind of cool cities during heat waves. They support biodiversity and they improve community well-being. So the one of the challenges that we've faced and we experience is often how can we quantify all these benefits? Because the benefits we're speaking about, for example, improving community well-being, it's really hard to kind of to quantify. And we do live in a world where kind of a lot of decisions are still made with quantitative figures. So by being able to look at kind of your decision support making system, and again using that digital kind of tool to harness that, we can start to kind of be able to quantify, which then helps us be part of the decision making process. And finally, we do kind of like to kind of go full circle, and from design to implementation, but also finally in that monitoring phase, looking at the performance of nature-based solutions, being able to kind of capture real-time data using either sensors, and to prove that the kind of green infrastructure, it's not a soft option. It's durable, and it is giving you the benefits that we have envisioned or that we predicted to begin with.
Thank you, Cristina. So it's, as you pointed out, we need both. We need nature-based solutions, and we need them to work alongside digital technologies, which help us quantify the benefits of those nature-based solutions. Cecilia, could you follow on telling us about innovations that are helping cities prepare and respond to floods?
I think starting with what we discussed today, there's a big shift that we're seeing in how cities think about stormwater. Traditionally, it has been treated as a risk to manage, but now there's a growing mindset that sees it as a resource to tap into. So this change is really sparkling the innovation across planning, design, and technology, just like Cristina just mentioned. She talked about the nature-based solutions, which are really great, not only just to reduce the flood risk, but also for boosting, for example, biodiversity and also improving air quality and temperature in the city. But there's more. Water infrastructure itself is becoming a platform for innovation. And what I mean with this is that cities are starting to use it as a test cut edge tech like edge computing, robotics, and even blockchain. I mean, it's turning what used to be a legacy system into some kind of urban innovation lab. It's something very frequent today that the cities are having these innovation labs and hubs to really test some new solutions. So smart infrastructure is also playing a very key role in this. I mean, think about the sensors, just like Cristina mentioned, in terms of having it in drainage systems that will track water levels in real time. That will allow cities to respond faster when when there's a threat in the flood. But also the digital twins, and when I mean a digital twin is a digital replica of a real system. The planners can actually simulate flood scenarios and tweak some infrastructures before problems even happen. So they're better prepared, better equipped, and they make sure that in terms of economic losses, they try to reduce and mitigate as much as possible. And so the predictive analytics is one of the other exciting areas, I would say, in terms of innovation, and because they will be able to combine weather forecast with historical data. And by taking actions based on this anticipation ahead of time, they can adjust, for example, reservoir levels, reroute flows, for example, and also keep communities informed, because I think that's an important aspect, so that the lives of people don't just stop. And so by allowing these interactive dashboards or visualization tools, it will be much easier. It's much easier to communicate risks and responses clearly. I mean, in the end of the day, the resilience isn't only about bouncing back. It's about building systems that can adapt and evolve. We cannot just eliminate and prepare for something. We need to be ready to also evolve. So I would say that when cities are putting water at the center of this smart planning, we're not just protecting the infrastructure, we're also protecting the people. And this is why I think innovation in the next years, we'll see a lot of things. I mean, AI is just everywhere. It's the buzzword, if we can say, because everyone has AI. It doesn't matter what you're doing, everyone has AI. So I do think that we will see a lot of innovations, but I would say around interoperability, like it has been already mentioned by my two colleagues here, Cristina and Siya, about connecting also to energy and other areas of transportation, mobility, because in the end, we're really all connected.
Thank you, Cecilia, for bringing those perspectives. You've mentioned digital twins, and we would like to talk a little bit more about them. Digital twins, together with other smart solutions like the ones you've mentioned, predictive analytics, and they allow for cross-sector collaboration, as you've said, and they help cities and organizations work smarter and more cohesively. Would you like, Cecilia, to just maybe go in depth a little bit more and explain how digital twins can help unify fragmented water systems and data silos? Perhaps you can give us some examples.
Absolutely. I think I've explained briefly what are digital twins. I usually say that digital twins are here for already some time. It's just that the name we were not using in that way. I usually say even the hydraulic models, and Cristina will maybe agree with me, was already a digital twin at the time. It's just that we were not using that, and we were already using machine learning to actually optimize some of the calculations that we were doing, optimize piping sizing, etc. And so they were already there. So I would say that this is more than a technological innovation. It's a really strategic enabler of integrated operations. And so in terms of in the context of water systems, they will help unify fragmented infrastructure and break down these silos that we always find, especially between departments, utilities, but also sectors. We hear that they want to reduce or become carbon neutral, but then water is doing something, energy is doing something when they're connected, right? Because we need energy to distribute water. So what we understand is this fragmentation really makes it very difficult to get a holistic view, for example, or to respond quickly to some of the issues, or even plan in an effective way. It's not that we don't plan, we do, right? But in a very siloed way. And so when we come together, we improve in terms of efficiency, but also in terms of the output, the value that we can create. So the digital twins will create this silo issue by creating this virtual replica of the physical water infrastructure, and they will integrate information from sensors like we have explained before, GIS, SCADA, historian, but also other sources into a single and dynamic environment if possible, because that is what will allow some flexibility of the digital twin, because it will allow to visualize, to simulate, analyze operations in real time, but especially foster collaboration across the traditional siloed departments. In terms of examples, we have a few examples, and in this case, we're not talking so much into the design, although our solutions are also designed to improve this collaboration between, for example, drawing production, but simulation, but also the drawing production for project delivery, for coordination of project and construction. In this case, we're looking more into what we call the real-time monitoring systems to help organizations across the globe to monitor, but also have this real-time operation insight. So we do have a lot of examples, and I think we have seen in the previous webinars, for example, we have a numerous of organizations in the US that use some of these real-time tools, also in South America, in various countries there, but also in Europe. If we think about the problems in Greece, Portugal, Spain, in terms of the droughts, the problems, it obligates organizations to be more focused in terms of non-revenue water, so the losses that they have. They want to be able to predict how much water they will still have in the system. So they want to be able to understand patterns, but also cross that information with weather information as well. And this is all on when we talk about the what we call the networks. On the other side, there's also the treatment plants, which is one of the aspects that uses, for example, a lot of energy in terms of treating wastewater, in terms of treating the water that we use. And so by using this type of technology, we help the organizations use advanced analytics to reduce the energy, chemical dosing, monitor asset performance. This really helps optimize, for example, preventive maintenance or any corrective action that is necessary. Because when we unify all of these fragmented data and we automate some of this asset management, we apply a predictive analysis for a really smarter decision making. It's not only that, it's also because you based your actions on something that was measurable and that you actually analyzed and looked into solutions to actually come up with a result and a solution. And so this really demonstrates the transformative value of digital twins in driving industry-wide innovation and long-term performance.
Thank you, Cecilia, for sharing those examples and all the potential of digital twins. And one of the benefits that we see in digital twins, it's the potential for collaboration. And I would like to ask Siya, from her city point of view, what are the challenges in getting different stakeholders to collaborate around shared digital platforms?
Thank you, Cristina. I think it's clear from Cecilia's presentation, or what she's just clarified and went through in terms of what is available digitally, that the challenge isn't technical, because we do have the tools, they are available. Mm-hmm. And I think from my perspective and what I've observed and seen, I can clearly say, firstly, it's about trust. It's about trusting the data that is available, and also in ensuring that you trust that the tools that you have are going to provide you and enable you to be able to make informative decision and data-based decision making. And I think the other part that is quite important in creating that collaboration is around the governance, ensuring that there is clear governance in terms of data sharing, access to information, and the analytics that are applied. And I think one key issue, Cecilia touched on it, is about silos of how that data is kept. Or because then if that data is integrated, you're able to use that into your digital twins or into your digital platform in order to be able to do some valuable analysis in it. So for me, from where I'm sitting, the point is not about technical. And the questions that are sometimes loosely asked in conversation is who owns the data? What is the quality of the data? And I think from the South African point of view, I think it's there's always an issue that are we POPIA compliant when we share information, meaning the personal Protection of Personal Information Act, and also our staff having the capability and the skills to use the systems and also to deal with the value and the volume of data that is available. I do want to identify some key milestones that the CT really put a spotlight on or are introduced in order to ensure that we optimize the use of data. Firstly, we came up with a council-approved data strategy, and that was followed, that focused clearly in terms of using the data integration. And then also recently, we came up as well and introduced a data analytics operating model. And then also with that, we have within different departments and different directorates our digital governance committees. And then that enables us really to be able to use the data and value the data and be able to ensure that our data informs our decision, and also we feed into the digital platforms in order to enable us to be able to get the success and the benefit out of those digital platforms. I do want to say that through the governance and the importance of governance as well is that you give clarity when you have a governance. You give clarity to the roles, enforce accountability, and also really, in a way, unlock data for smarter services. Because then it enables everybody to understand exactly how to feed and how to use the data and when to use the data and the capability that it can deliver. I do want to say from the city's point of view as well, we are looking at ensuring that we create digital platforms that will help us not just track in terms of infrastructure, also inform our cost recovery of services and be able to have some affordability matrix, and also to be able then to make evidence-based financing decisions, and also how to ensure then we have a sustainable and resilient service. If I can just continue a little bit, Cristina, and say that, I mean, from our point of view, I do feel data and digital platform really accelerated our digital shift, because with the drought that we experience, it forced us to ensure that going forward, we use the data and also we explore what are digital platforms and tools that are available for us to explore that. I think both Cristina and Cecilia have touched in terms of the importance of ensuring that you have tools for predictive maintenance, and we are exploring that as water and sanitation. And also we have non-revenue programs that will assist us to reduce our losses. And also as the city, we are in a journey of deploying AMI, advanced smart metering. or advanced metering infrastructure. And that will really allow us in terms of ensuring that we optimize the use of data, and at the same time allow us with the capability to build resilience around the systems that are available and the data that is available. Thanks, Cristina.
Thank you, Siya. I think you've elaborated quite well and on that part about issues like governance, data, and data governance, and that was leading us into our next question, which was about whether utilities and municipalities have the tools and the data and the cross-sector support to turn resilience from vision into reality. You've already mentioned the issues of who owns the data and data quality and skills to make the best use of that data. I don't know if you would like to elaborate further on that. Sorry, Siya, that was, and I know you've talked at length about this. I don't know if you wanted to add any comments.
Yes, I think what I can add, just in terms of adding around the building of resilience, and I think it is going to come out a little bit clear that I'm kind of passionate in terms of ensuring when we talk about the service and specifically water resilience, we do not leave behind the importance of building resilience around the financing and around ensuring that we invest in infrastructure that is going to allow us to have a sustainable service. So for specifically in our response to the drought, as I mentioned earlier on, that we've got what we call a new water program that is really mainly to diversify the sources of supply. And the city is investing quite significantly around ensuring that we invest in reuse water and desalination and groundwater. And that comes at a cost. And therefore, there is an importance for us to ensure that we use the necessary system and models to really look at real-time usage analysis and also have dashboards that is going to allow us to monitor demand, consumptions, and reduce losses. That's where we see value that the AMI smart metering will assist us as well to monitor real-time consumption and to be able to also have early leak detections and also empower our users, which is quite key in ensuring that they monitor their consumptions and then they are able to deal early with the leaks. And then also within our networks, the city is investing a lot of money on ensuring that we maintain our network and infrastructure. Both our pipe replacement are significantly high. The city is investing a lot in the pipe replacement specifically for water and also sanitation. And then also that investment in water is to assist us and help us in reducing the leaks. And also when we do the replacement, we ensure that we have the loggers and also have leak detections installed in order to promptly deal and manage any losses. So it's quite important then that although you implement these tools, you ensure that you implement tools that are going to build resilience, but not only technical resilience and infrastructure resilience, but also going to build some form of financial resilience and sustainability. Because at the end of the day, I do feel that these tools do exist, but we need, as a leadership, drive the investment and also drive really the collaborated effort that is going to turn cities into resilient cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Siya, for telling us about that very clear picture of what the work you have been doing, and highlighting that aspect, very important, financial resilience. Otherwise, we're not going to get long-term sustainability. I would like to ask Cristina now, what are the risks if utilities don't align with citywide climate strategies? And is there a way to overcome them? Your microphone is muted.
Okay, is this any better? I think
perfect.
So I want to start by kind of saying, kind of thank you to Cecilia. She's kind of highlighted some great topics, both in this question and previous kind of answers in other questions that talk to some of the risks and issues if we don't have alignment in citywide climate strategies. I'd like to kind of start with maybe talking about the first kind of risks, the three main risks that I can see. So it's the risk of missed opportunities, or the risk of missing out to get efficiency gains, the financial exposure risk, and the resilience gap risk. So looking at the first risk around inefficiency and missed opportunities, when the utilities don't plan in isolation, what ends up happening is that in the return on investments, or the investments themselves, don't kind of generate the benefit that they could, or the benefit the city's trying to achieve. So, for example, if we think about an example where a city may be looking to prioritize blue or green corridors, and a utility is actually thinking about investing further in traditional kind of grey infrastructure, that's a natural kind of tension, that's a natural kind of mismatch, and it ultimately impacts the community and the community well-being. So we're kind of seeing the two pulls in different directions, and it ends up being kind of a very disjoint approach, when actually they could have been working together to kind of maximize the benefit for the community. The second is that kind of financial exposure risk, and again we're seeing more and more of this, particularly around kind of in the kind of climate finance space. So this may be kind of funding kind of coming from public grants, government funding, or even maybe the private sector. Often kind of those funding initiatives, they're tied, they want to see, or they want to tie back to an overall city strategy. So if we're not kind of pulling in the same direction, access to funding is a lot more difficult, and there's potential that kind of there's lots of kind of missed opportunities on funding, or potentially kind of leaving kind of funding on the table, or leaving kind of things behind, and that in itself kind of carries its own burden. And the final element is the resilience gap. And that's kind of around kind of climate shocks. I think we've spoken today a lot about kind of different climate shocks that are happening across the world. And the thing with climate shocks is that they don't respect organizational boundaries. It doesn't respect whether you're a utility company, whether you're a city. For example, a flood, it doesn't just impact the infrastructure, it disrupts transport, it disrupts housing, public health, energy. So we really need to be kind of thinking about resiliency as a network, as an ecosystem. It's not just about organizational resiliency. The resiliency now has moved to around kind of it being around community-based, and as a whole network. How can cities and utilities overcome these risks? For me, it's based on having kind of shared data and models. I think Syria kind of put it kind of really nicely around some of the work that the city of Cape Town is doing, and it's kind of quite refreshing and nice to hear. And that kind of that building of that digital platform, so that everyone can get that same view of risks and different scenarios. And I think kind of you could expressed it quite nicely about kind of that building that common language for decision making. So often we think we're speaking the same things, but actually our interpretation, because we're coming at it from different perspectives, we're using the same words, but we're meaning different things. So building that governance, that common language around kind of moving forward. And again, also what's hinted at, I think Cecilia, you hinted at this, is trust being an issue around, well, how can we trust each other to that kind of we want the same thing, and that one's not taking advantage of the other. And that's kind of where kind of pilot projects kind of come in. So maybe my advice is to start small, start on a small kind of integrated approach, because that will build trust naturally, and that will demonstrate the value, and that then allows you to kind of think about how we can scale that up and take that forward. And finally, when we do take that forward, I think what we see is that mind shift change. So it's no longer my system. It goes from the view of my system to our resilience. So those are my kind of parting thoughts.
Thank you, Cristina, for pointing out those risks and how we can overcome them. We have covered a lot of ground today, and because of timing, I think maybe we can now open the floor for questions from our audience, so we can take a few questions. So if you haven't already, you can send your questions using the Q&A module at the bottom of your screen. We don't have a lot of time left, but let's go in with a question from George Warren from Anglian Water Services in the United Kingdom. And it's Day Zero highlighted the issues of not placing water management as a top priority for cities. It's great to see Cape Town really took action to reduce the chances of this happening again. And he continues, without a financial analysis of the potential impacts of such a situation, how do we get governments and city administrations to invest in water resource resilience? I don't know if Siya might want to answer this first.
Yes, I can, Cristina. I think for us, we get a lot of, I do want to say first, we get quite a lot of ask or visitors wanting to hear how we really survive Day Zero. And at the same time, the key issue that we are asked over and over is, what do we have planned and what we're currently doing at this stage to ensure that if we experience another drought, we are kind of ready and we can mitigate some of the risks that are associated with the drought. So I think from our side, it's quite important, I think, to really use the systems and the tools like digital twin to do your analysis. From the city's point of view, currently, we do manage and monitor in terms of our consumptions. We do some projections and planning in terms of use, growth, and the impact of the new water program, not only in terms of building the capacity and creating diversity, but also impact in terms of the cost of providing those alternative supply, and at the end of the day, the cost on the tariffs. So it's quite important then that you need to have a plan in terms of what is it that you need to do to mitigate any climate change or shocks. And then at the same time, what is it that you need to do in terms of building a system and an ecosystem that will enable you to mitigate any associated risk. And then what is important is to do some affordability analysis in terms of what is it that you can afford and the cost of injecting those additional sources, investments, and infrastructure. And then look in terms of the long-term financial impact. What the city does is a 10-year long-term financial plan and analysis to check what is the cost of additional investment, what is the cost of upgrading and maintaining the systems, and what is the impact at the end of the day in terms of those tariffs. And we use then that information to present to our politicians in terms of getting their support. And we're fortunate within the city of Cape Town that we have political leadership, especially our mayor, who champions the importance of water and also in terms of cities' resilience and sustainability of our cities and in, economic growth, and also the impact that it has on our communities. And then with that then is to ensure that we access different funding so that we can reduce the impact on our end users, but at the same time that we look in terms of our tariff structure or on how we can ensure we have tariff structures that will allow us to have reliable revenue and a sustainable service. Thank you.
Thank you, Siya. Just one more quick question, and because of time, and I'll just ask if you can be brief, please. This is from Howard Alborough from Aldam Technologies in South Africa. And it's as an equipment manufacturer, we need to know in detail what information you will be requiring for AI applications to optimize cost versus return on investment. And the question is, how do we compile this for the specific sites and situations without over-catering on monitoring and increasing costs when providing equipment for your scope of work? I'm not sure who might want to try to answer this question.
I think this is a question for Siya, that they're asking some details in terms of flying.
I don't think this is the fair question, though, for this platform, if I can say so.
Yes.
Because I can't respond to that without probing for additional details. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure there will be a way for the person to access that information through the available contact details within the city. I think I won't respond to that directly, Cristina. But I mean, if the person would like to make contact with me and get assistance, I'm happy to share my email address. But I'm sure if there's any information that they need to supply, which is linked to any procurement, I assume that's linked to procurement, there will be a contact person in the document that they can engage with and get clarity and information. Thank you.
Perfect. Yes, sure. Siya, thank you very much. Yes, we're going to collect all the information from all the questions that have been sent and to provide it to the panel organization. Because right now we're basically out of time, so we would like to bring the session to a close. But before we leave, I would like to just very quickly invite each of you if you want to share a final thought.
I just want to add something before that, which is we usually share in LinkedIn the webinar. So if you have questions that haven't been answered, or through the social media, please interact with us. We'll be happy to try to answer and call out the people that are in here. Siya, you have your hand raised, so I believe you want to give your input.
No, from my side, I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity, but I do want to just leave one word that says that resilience isn't built in isolation. I think it came out from all our inputs and insights here today from Cecilia and Cristina. There is an importance to ensure that we have integrated system with energy, mobility, health, in order to ensure that we really deliver foolproof climate strategies. And I think from the City of Cape Town point of view, we're far from being perfect. I do want to say that. But we have an ambition and the drive to ensure that we protect our citizens and we protect our city if we experience another climate change shock. And we do that by embedding quite a lot of water focus in our Vision 2050, and that will not only see the development of a smart city, but a resilient one. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you, Siya.
From my side, what I can say is that when we talk about leading climate adaptation, and it isn't just about a technology aspect as we've seen, as we have discussed here, it's much more bigger than that. I mean, the water sector and professionals within, which I include myself and the ones that are in this webinar, I think we all carry a unique responsibility. We're not just engineers, we're not just water professionals. We are working with a resource that underpins everything: energy, food, health, and industry. And what I have seen, and very proudly, is that I have seen organizations around the globe that are embracing digital solutions and innovations, and really pushing the tech sector to develop with purpose. I genuinely believe that in the coming years, we'll see IT companies, software companies, creating more interoperable and AI-driven solutions that will truly support the development of a more sustainable and resilient future. And thank you from my side.
Thank you, Cecilia. Cristina?
And for me, I think my final thought is that we need to kind of stop putting water as a second thought. It needs to be front and center. Otherwise, we'll miss the opportunity to build that kind of resilient, sustainable city. We kind of need to also kind of improve our work on our narrative to be able to kind of share our stories. Our stories are really important, and they're going to really help us position water front and center.
Thank you all for those closing notes. We had a fantastic panel today. Cecilia Correia, Global Water Industry Solutions Strategist at Bentley Systems, Siya Bashe, Director at the City of Cape Town, and Cristina García, Product Lead for Enterprise Decision Analytics at Arcadis. Thank you for sharing your expertise and vision. And I think from what we have heard today, it is clear that water must sit at the center of the smart city conversation. And importantly, that when water utilities, city planners, and technology providers work together, they can create cities that are ready to adapt, to thrive, and to protect communities. To everyone that joined us today, thank you for being part of this session. And a quick reminder that today's webinar will be available for on-demand viewing on the Smart Water Magazine website. Once again, thank you for your participation.